Hey folks, Nathan here. The Aquarion's had its first 3 launches. The flight computer FC1 worked admirably, but there's still some issues that need to be addressed. Let's go through the launches now and take a look at how they went. Okay, very first launch of the Aquarion rocket. The flight computer is armed and ready. So we're going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's pretty good. On parachute. No parachute. Oh. That first flight definitely didn't go as planned. At first I wasn't sure what happened, I just assumed that there was some sort of problem with the altimeter, but when I brought it back and repaired it, the altimeter was all working properly. So I resoldered all the loose joints and that all seemed okay, but then one crucial test outlined what the issue was. So it turns out even model rockets need vibration testing. So the problem, it turns out, was actually with the battery case. So it's just a standard 9-volt battery in a case there, but the case has a little bit of room at the bottom, which means that when you apply a whole heap of G's to it, with the way that the battery case was oriented, the battery would just slip out, and that would cause, obviously, the flight computer to lose power. And a flight computer without power isn't the most useful flight computer we could have. Fortunately, the fix for this was quite simple. We just needed to get a bunch of foam, shove it underneath the 9-volt battery to remove all that wiggle room, and from then on it was fine. With the battery problem now solved, we're on to flight number 2. And apologies in advance for the atrocious filming. Right, we are sitting at around 40 psi. So, everything is armed and ready. Let's launch ourselves a rocket in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch. 1. Yes, we did it. Parachute is suboptimal, but it worked. And that was it. FC1 worked flawlessly, but unfortunately, the parachute not so much. Right, it looks like we also lost 2 of our shroud lines. This one here and this one here, which would also explain why the parachute didn't go. If we look here, we can see that the tape just straight up ripped through. So we'll have to figure out how to make that a bit better as well. As we can see, we need to work on our parachute a little bit. And spoiler alert for launch 3, we had the exact same issue. But one other part of FC1 which we need to test is the altitude readout. So let's see how that went. Alright, max altitude. Tens, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Okay, looks like we hit a height of 40 meters. Let's just confirm that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, it's wonderful. That's a 40-meter launch. Successful recovery. I love it. And there we go, our first official recorded altitude in Athos aerospace history. We've hit the big 40 meters, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm pretty happy with it considering the position that we're at right now. Now that we have this, and we've shown that we can show what altitude we've reached, there's a lot of things we can do. So we can start playing around with our PSIs and our fuel amounts, seeing what actually works for getting to higher heights and what affects what. We can play around with different fuel types. We can, it's just a whole bunch of experimental stuff we can do now that we have that information. And I want more data. So in the future, we're going to be upgrading FC1 to FC2, 3, etc. And we're going to be adding more and more sensors as we go. But enough about the future plans. Let's take a look at how launch number 3 went. And apologies again, my video skills have really gone downhill in lockdown. Aquarion launch number 3. We have pretty good weather, nice and early, no wind. Okay, let's do this. Launching in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch. Oh, parachute failed again. Yep, it's exactly the same thing that happened with launch number 2. So with launch number 2, I repaired the 2 shroud lines that broke, but I didn't check the other 6. And so in this one... Alrighty, we lost 4 shroud lines this time, which would explain the crash. So the ones that were repaired have been pulled quite a bit. I don't trust them to survive another launch. They're only just hanging on by a thread there. So it seems like the forces when the parachute comes out are a bit much for this to handle. So we might need a way to either reinforce these or to find a new material. And that gives us the next direction for our project to go in. So thanks to the Rocketry subreddit and the Rocketry subreddit's Discord, I've been given 2 great directions to go in for my parachute. The first is to keep using a garbage bag, but to, instead of just using electrical tape, use some proper reinforced duct tape and thread the cord through that. So that's going to be option number 1. Option number 2 is to use a different material. In this case, I'll be using ripstop nylon, and that will provide a much stronger material that I can actually sew the shroud lines into. And with that's going to come some stronger shroud lines as well, so we've got some, I think it's a nylon cord for that, but we'll go over that in the next video. And yeah, that's where we are now with the Aquarion. So our fuselage works beautifully, flight computer works beautifully, but yeah, parachute not quite there yet. So hopefully with the next one we'll have a fully perfect, usable, reliable rocket. And that's all for this one, so catch you all later.